Is there any value to inserting movement restorative, ooh, that's hot, exercises / positions in between reset breathing sets to facilitate or further drive the resetting process? I ask, especially when in coaching breathing at the start of the session, sometimes the clients are geared up to get into a movement, either from being stimulated to get the work going or from a stressful meeting, etc. So I see the struggle of maintaining a degree of focus in accomplishing their reset work. Yeah, this is tough, especially if you got someone who's just a major stress ball and they just can't shut it down and they just want to go, 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 go because that's their norm. So I feel you on this because that's definitely a tough person to work with. I think it's completely reasonable to incorporate a lot of these movements throughout the program, and especially in the early stages of training. It's something I do liberally with my supreme clientele, because the more reps that we can getting into these positions, the better. And there's nothing, there's no rule book that says you have to start the program with resets and then you go into the warm-up and then all of this stuff. You can really put them anywhere because, again, it is skill acquisition that you're teaching. You're teaching their rib cage to be able to do certain things. You're teaching their hips to be able to do certain things. You're teaching their body to be able to do certain things. And you can practice that at any point in time in the training program. So many times, especially in early phases with online training clients that I may have, I will pepper a lot of their main moves, superset them with resets that they need. And it could be one of two ways. I will either give them the specific moves that they need to address the movement limitations they have. For example, if I have someone who needs to improve shoulder internal rotation, I may pair their squat with a quadruped position, just working on reaching, something that's not like super high intensity, but it puts them in a position that they need to be able to drive the movement needed at the rib cage to improve shoulder internal rotation. That's one way you could do it. Another way you could do it is to work on driving eccentric capabilities of the things that they may be increasing concentric capabilities of while they're training. When you're moving them heavy ass weights, your muscles get tight and they get dense. That's normal. That should happen. That's why you're moving the weights. You can use resets to restore the eccentric capabilities of the musculature. So if I'm choosing an activity that creates a bunch of concentric bias, I may superset that with something that creates an eccentric bias of that muscle. Theoretically, that will help you maintain movement options through training. For example, let's say you're doing something that's very upper body dominant. Maybe you're doing an Arnold press or a bench or anything like that, which is very concentric heavy in the uppers. You could do something like a bar hang, where you're grabbing onto a bar and you're hanging down and creating this nasty stretch in the chest and the rib cage. You could do that to help offset the concentric bias that is going to happen with the move. Or you could also do things to increase movement capabilities needed for a particular movement. For example, let's say you are having someone squat with whatever variation you choose. You might pair that with a movement that helps them increase their squat depth or reinforces the mechanics needed to perform a squat well. One thing that I might do, and I've done before, is I might have someone do like a front squat variation, and then I'll have them superset that with a drunken turtle, where they're bringing their knees to their chest and they're rolling back and forth. Because essentially the drunken turtle is a cheating way to get into the bottom of a squat. And I think any utilization of resets or breathing moves in that regard can be really effective. And another nice thing too is you're spending this time really focusing on producing a lot of force. And then from at least a mental standpoint, you're kind of slowing down and really focusing on a specific movement or action, perhaps that will enhance recovery from the challenging move that you're doing. Although, I don't have any research to back that up per se, but it's at least helping them calm down from the movement that's being performed. To summarize, your great question, Natalie. Resets can be done in any part of the programming. I will oftentimes pair them with some of the more challenging moves, either to work on the movement restrictions that the client has, to eccentrically bias the stuff that you are tensing up, or to help drive motions needed to enhance the effectiveness of the exercise that you're doing. And if you use resets in that regard, you ought to be in business.